Chapter 2. The Open Room. Ratty, said the mole suddenly, one bright summer morning, if you please, I want to ask you a favor. Won't you take me to call on Mr. Toad? I've heard so much about him, and I do so want to make his acquaintance. Why, certainly, said the good-natured rat, jumping to his feet. Get the boat out, and we'll paddle up there at once. It's never the wrong time to call on Toad. Early or late, he's always the same fellow, always good-tempered, always glad to see you, always sorry when you go. He must be a very nice animal, observed the mole, as he got into the boat and took the sculls, while the rat settled himself comfortably in the stern. He is indeed the best of animals, replied Rat, so simple, so good-natured, and so affectionate. Perhaps he's not very clever. We can't all be geniuses, and it may be that he is both boastful and conceited, but he has got some great qualities as Toady. Rounding a bend in the river, they came in sight of a handsome, dignified old house of mellowed red brick with well-kept lawns reaching down to the water's edge. Sorry if I missed a picture there, actually. There's more in it. And then here we are coming up to Toad's house in the boat. There's Toad Hall, said the rat. They glided up the creek, and the mole shipped his sculls as they passed into the shadow of a large boathouse. Here they saw many handsome boats slung from the crossbeams or hauled up on a slip, but none in the water. The rat looked around him. I understand, said he. Boating is played out. He's tired of it and done with it. I wonder what new fad he has taken up now. They disembarked and strolled across the gay flower-decked lawns in search of Toad, whom they soon saw resting in a wicker garden chair with a preoccupied expression on his face and a large map spread out on his knees. Hooray! He cried, jumping up on seeing them. This is splendid. He shook the paws of both of them warmly, never waiting for an introduction to the mole. How kind of you, he went on, dancing round them. Come inside and have something. You don't know how lucky it is. You're turning up just now. He led the way to the stable yard, the rat following with a most mistrustful expression, and there, drawn out of the coach house into the open, they saw a wooden caravan, shining with newness, painted a canary yellow picked out with green and red wheels. There you are, cried the Toad, standing before them with legs apart, chest out. There's a real life for you, embodied in that little cart. The open road, the dusty highway, the heath, the common, the hedgerows, the rolling downs, camps, villages, towns, cities, here today, up and off to somewhere else tomorrow. Travel, change, interest, excitement, the whole world before you, and a horizon that's always changing. And mind, this is the very finest cart of its sort that was ever built, without any exception. Come inside and look. Planned it all myself, I did. That's what it looks like. And that's Toad over there, showing them. There's some squirrels up in the grapevines. The mole was tremendously interested and excited, and followed him eagerly up the steps and into the caravan. The rat only snorted and thrust his hands deep into his pockets, remaining where he was. It was indeed very compact and comfortable. Little sleeping bunks, a little table that folded up against the wall, a cooking stove, lockers, bookshelves, a bird cage with a bird in it, and pots, pans, jugs, and kettles of every size and variety. All complete, said the Toad triumphantly, pulling open a locker. You see biscuits, potted lobster, sardines, everything you can possibly want. Soda water here, tobacco there, letter paper, bacon, jam, cards, and dominoes. You'll find, he continued as they descended the steps again, you'll find that nothing whatever has been forgotten when we make our start this afternoon. I beg your pardon, said the rat slowly, as he chewed a straw, but did I overhear you say something about we and start in this afternoon? Now, you dear good old Ratty, said Toad imploringly, don't begin talking in that stiff and snippy sort of way, because you know you've got to come. You surely don't mean to stick to your dull, smelly old river all your life, and just live in a hole in a bank and a boat? I want to show you the world. I don't care, said the rat doggedly. I'm not coming, and that's flat. And I am going to stick to my old river and live in a hole and boat, as I've always done. And what's more, Mole's going to stick to me and do as I do, aren't you, Mole? Of course I am, said the Mole loyally. I'll always stick to you, Rat, and what you say is to be, has got to be. All the same, it sounds as if it might have been, well, rather fun, you know, he added wistfully. The Rat saw what was passing in his mind and wavered. He hated disappointing people, and he was fond of the Mole, and would do almost anything to oblige him. Today, Toad was watching both of them closely. Come along in and have some lunch, he said diplomatically, and we'll talk it over. We needn't decide anything in a hurry. Of course, I don't really care. I only want to give pleasure to you fellows. Live for others. That's my motto in life. Just them having lunch together. During lunch, which was excellent, of course, as everything at Toad Hall always was, the Toad simply let himself go. Ignoring the Rat, he painted the prospect of the trip and the joys of the open life and the roadside in such glowing colors that the Mole could hardly sit in his chair for excitement. Sorry, I didn't mean to be covering my mouth. Somehow it soon seemed taken for granted by all three of them that the trip was a settled thing, and the Rat, though still unconvinced in his mind, allowed his good nature to override his personal objections. He could not bear to disappoint his two friends, who were already planning out each day's separate occupation for several weeks ahead. I would be pretty overwhelmed by that. When they were quite ready, the now triumphant Toad led his companions to the paddock and set them to capture the old gray horse, who, without having been consulted, and to his own extreme annoyance, had been chosen by Toad for the dustiest job in this dusty expedition. At last the horse was caught and harnessed, and they set off, all talking at once, each animal either trudging by the side of the cart or sitting on the shaft as the mood took him. It was a golden afternoon. The smell of the dust they kicked up was rich and satisfying. Out of thick orchards on either side of the road, birds called and whistled to them cheerily. Good-natured wayfarers passing them gave them good day or stopped to say nice things about their beautiful cart. And rabbits sitting at their front doors in the hedgerows held up their forepaws and said, "Oh my, oh my." Late in the evening, tired and happy and miles from home, they drew up on a remote common far from any houses, turned the horse loose to graze, and ate their simple supper sitting on the grass by the side of the cart. Then, as night fell, they turned into their little bunks in the cart, and Toad, kicking out his legs sleepily, said, "Well, good night, you fellows. This is the real life for a gentleman." After so much open air and excitement, the Toad slept very soundly, and no amount of shaking could rouse him out of bed next morning. So the Mole and the Rat set to work quietly and manfully, and while the Rat saw to the horse and lit a fire and cleaned last night's cups and plates and got things ready for breakfast, the Mole trudged off to the nearest village, a long way off, for milk and eggs and various necessities the Toad had, of course, forgotten to provide. The hard work had all been done, and the two animals were resting, thoroughly exhausted by the time Toad appeared on the scene, fresh and gay, remarking what a pleasant, easy life it was they were all leading now, after the cares and worries of housekeeping at home. Their way lay, as before, across country by narrow lanes, and it was not till the afternoon that they came out on the high road, their first high road, and their disaster, sudden and unexpected, sprang out on them. Disaster that was momentous indeed to their expedition, but simply overwhelming in its effect on the future career of Toad. They were strolling along the high road easily, when far behind them they heard a faint warning hum, like the drone of a distant bee. Glancing back, they saw a cloud of dust with a dark center advancing on them at incredible speed, while from out of the dust a faint poop-poop wailed like an uneasy animal in pain. Hardly regarding it, they turned to resume their conversation, when in an instant, as it seemed, the peaceful scene was changed, and with a blast of wind and a whirl of sound that made them jump for the nearest ditch, it was on them. The poop-poop rang with a blaring shout in their ears. They had a moment's glimpse of an interior of glittering plate glass and rich leather, and the magnificent motor car, immense, breath-snatching, passionate, with its driver tense and hugging his wheel, claimed all earth and air for a fraction of a second. It flung a cloud of dust that blinded and enwrapped them utterly, and then dwindled to a speck in the far distance, changed back into a droning beat once more. So here's the motor car. The old gray horse, dreaming as he plodded along of his quiet paddock in a new situation such as this simply abandoned himself to his natural emotions, rearing, plunging, backing steadily. In spite of all Mole's efforts at his head, and all the Mole's lively language appealing to his better nature, he drove the cart backwards towards the deep ditch at the side of the road. It wavered an instant, then there was a heart-rending crash, and the canary-colored cart, their pride and their joy, lay on its side in the ditch, a complete wreck. The rat danced up and down in the road, simply transported with passion. "You villains," he shouted, shaking both fists. "You scoundrels, you highwaymen, you road hogs, I'll have the law on you. I'll report you, I'll take you through all the courts." Toad sat straight down in the middle of the dusty road, his legs stretched out before him, and stared fixedly in the direction of the disappearing motor car. He breathed short, his face wore a placid, satisfied expression, and at intervals he faintly murmured, "Poop, poop." The Mole was busy trying to quiet the horse, which he succeeded in doing after a time. Then he went to look at the cart on its side in the ditch. It was indeed a sorry sight. Panels and windows smashed, axles hopelessly bent, one wheel off, sardine tins scattered over the wide world. The rat came up to help him, but their united efforts were not sufficient to right the cart. "Hi, Toad," they cried. "Come and bear a hand, can't you?" The Toad never answered a word or budged from his seat in the road, so they went to see what was the matter with him. They found him in a sort of trance, a happy smile on his face, his eyes still fixed on the dusty wake of the destroyer. At intervals he was still heard to murmur, "Poop, poop." The rat shook him by the shoulder. "Are you coming to help us, Toad?" he demanded sternly. "Glorious, stirring sight," murmured Toad, never offering to move. "The poetry of motion, the real way to travel, the only way to travel, here today and next week tomorrow. Villages skipped, towns and cities jumped, oh bliss, oh my, oh my." "What are we to do with him?" asked the Mole of the water rat. "Nothing at all," replied the rat firmly, "because there is really nothing to be done. You see, I know him of old. He is now possessed. He has got a new craze, and it always takes him that way in its first stage. He'll continue like that for days now, like an animal walking in a happy dream. Never mind him. Let's go and see what there is to be done about the cart." Careful inspection showed them that, even if they succeeded in righting it by themselves, the cart would travel no longer. The axles were in a hopeless state, and the missing wheel was shattered to pieces. The rat knotted the horse's reins over his back and took him by the head, carrying the bird cage in the other hand. "Come on," he said grimly to Mole. "It's 5 or 6 miles to the nearest town, and we shall just have to walk it. The sooner we make a start, the better." "But what about Toad?" asked the Mole anxiously as they set off together. "We can't leave him here, sitting in the middle of the road by himself. In the state he's in, it's not safe. Supposing another thing were to come along?" "Oh, bother Toad," said the rat savagely. "I've done with him." They had not proceeded very far on their way, however, when there was a pattering of feet behind them, and Toad caught them up and thrust a paw inside the elbow of each of them, still breathing short and staring into vacancy. That's him when he's sitting on the road looking at the motor car in his trance. "Now look here, Toad," said the rat sharply. "As soon as we get to the town, you'll have to go straight to the police station and see if they know anything about that motor car and who it belongs to, and lodge a complaint about it." "Police station? Complaint?" murmured Toad dreamily. I've not been doing a great job of the impressions, but me complain of that beautiful, that heavenly vision. Mend the cart. I've done with carts forever. I never want to see the cart or to hear of it again. The rat turned from him in despair. You see what it is, he said to the mole, addressing him across Toad's head. He's quite hopeless. I give it up. When we get to the town, we'll go to the railway station, and with luck, we may pick up a train there that'll get us back to the riverbank tonight. On reaching the town, they went straight to the station and deposited Toad in the second-class waiting room, giving a porter 2 pence to keep a strict eye on him. They then left the horse at an inn stable and gave what directions they could about the cart and its contents. Eventually, a slow train having landed them at a station not very far from Toad Hall, they escorted the spellbound, sleepwalking Toad to his door, put him inside it, and instructed his housekeeper to feed him, undress him, and put him to bed. Then they got out their boat from the boathouse, sculled down the river home, and at a very late hour sat down to supper in their own snug little riverside parlor, to the rat's great joy and contentment. The following evening, the mole, who had got up late and taken things very easy all day, was sitting on the bank fishing when Rat, who had been looking up his friends and gossiping, came strolling along to find him. Heard the news, he said. There's nothing else being talked about all along the riverbank. Toad went up to town by an early train this morning, and he has ordered a very large and very expensive motor car. There's them heading home by their adventures, and that's the end of chapter 2, the open road. And I'll see you next time for chapter 3.